Hello, friends. Part 3 of your podcast on Section 3.1 in the AP Stats book. Wrapping up this 3.1 section with some talk about correlation. Remember, this is the formula. It appears in your formula packet. You just need to know what the formula is and that they use this to get the correlation. You can actually do the correlation, get the value by doing the one variable, by doing the linear regression. At this point, everyone's diagnostics should be turned on so that they get the R squared and the R values when they do a linear regression. But if not, this is the step to do to get the R squared and the R to appear when you do a linear regression. Remember, I told you that you should look at these on page 199 in your textbook to have an intuitive mental idea of what the different correlation values look like. Remember, the closer the number is to 0, the less pattern there's going to be. And negative means they go down from left to right. Positive means they go up from left to right. And the higher the correlation, in other words, the closer to 1 or -1, the tighter the points will be to a straight line, like these. Correlation negative 0.99. That's a pretty tight linear pattern. All right, important ideas in section 3.1. We are answering the following questions. Who, now this is clearly page 172 in your textbook. Who are the individuals? What are the variables? Why were the data gathered? When, where, how, and by whom? So this is a recurring theme that started when at the beginning of the year when we talked in chapter 5 about experimental design and surveys and observational studies. These are the questions we're going to answer all year long. So these are a good thing to fall back on when they ask you to describe a particular experiment or example. I cannot emphasize strongly enough to know all of these facts about correlation. In particular, every correlation value R. So clearly you got to know the correlation is the letter R. R squared is the coefficient of determination. That's from your 3.2 podcasts. You should know every R is between -1 and 1 and be able to say that anything close to -1 or +1 is strong and anything that's close to 0 is weak. The correlation does not imply causation. We have to do something different. We should know that, like the mean and standard deviation, correlation is not resistant. So outlier influential points are going to mess up my correlation. And correlation is not a complete summary of two variable data. That's why we make the graphs and look for patterns and talk about other things. Okay, and that's why we've done all the example problems so that you're comfortable with these ideas. So just to wrap up, here are the major ideas that you should have gotten out of section 3.1. And the vocabulary is hugely important, being able to understand it in questions and then use the correct words at the correct time in your responses and writing clear, legible English sentences. This is what we got to practice. So these podcasts, along with the practice problems, should go a long way in having you prepared for the next test on the 29th, which is Friday.